So going on to my first question, um, can you tell us a little bit about your journey as a filmmaker?
Yes, but I just want to connect my answer to your feedback on the film, your feeling on the film, because you said you didn't know that much about the history of Afghanistan, and that was the case for me because I also didn't know that much about the history of Afghanistan. I mean, I was born in 1991, and my generation, we are not really connected to the past of Afghanistan, to the history of Afghanistan. And like some years ago, like almost 10-11 years ago, when I met a friend of mine in a TV station in Kabul, where I worked there as a producer in different programs and shows, I met Anwar, my friend, who also played in the film. And he told me about his life story, that he wanted to write something, but he was not really sure about it. He thought that it's worth to write because it's very dramatic, and it's like his life story looks like a movie itself, and it has a lot of up and down and all this. I mean, he knew that he wanted to write something, but he was as if he didn't he was not brave enough to start it. So we start to talk about it. So he said to me, like, he told me bits of bits during some, I don't know, some months, and then we made an agreement together that what if he writes every day, and the next day he emails them to me. So he wrote like 8 pages every day, and the next day he was emailing it to me. So within a year I was collecting 800 pages that Anwar wrote. And when I read that, I think that was, on that time, I must say that it was like 2000, I think it was 2009 or 2009 or 2010. And on that time, I was not even a filmmaker. I even didn't make any short film. I mean, I was working on my short film, and I had the dream to be filmmaker or to make film, but nothing was really seriously. And when I read this diary of my friend, I think it was like reading it, it was like a turning point in my life on that moment, because on one point I could read his life story, like a personal story, like a, like being told from a child point of view, from all, like all this war and stuff that he survived. But on the other hand, he was talking about the history of Afghanistan. He was talking about the last 40 years of dramas going on in history of Afghanistan, and that was something that I've never heard about it. I've never read it anywhere, and that was something that really catch me. And I saw it just immediately, that it's so visual. The way that he wrote, it's so visual, and it should be filmed. But it was so big, it was like 800 pages. So I said to Anwar that I want to make 5 feature film out of it, and I think he didn't believe me. He said, yeah, you're gonna do it. because on that time I was not filmmaker, so he said, like, yeah, whatever, you're gonna. But then later, when I made the first part, Orphanage, and Anwar was helping me in as the assistant director, I think then he believed that we're gonna complete these 5 films. And then later in 2019, when we finished the Orphanage, Anwar was also playing in the film as the role of the teacher. And then he also worked with me as an assistant director, and now he's writing with me for the 3rd part. So.
You said he sent you so many emails, and you had, so was this all published? Was his writing ever published, or is that something just you have?
No, actually, I'm so far I'm the only one who read the diary, but
Wow.
we are working on, because he wrote it in Dari, and then in the language of Afghanistan, one of the languages in Afghanistan, and he doesn't speak English that well, and we are looking for a translator who can translate it, but it's too big, and after many like rewriting, now we cut it down to 530 pages. But still, it's a huge work, and I think we both are dreaming to publish it one day, but maybe when we finish the 5 film, then we can publish also the diary from Anwar.
Wonderful.
How did you meet him? Like, can you tell us about your first meeting with him a little bit more?
We both work in the TV. I was working in the production department and he was working in the news department. And we met each other during the coffee break around canteen for the lunchtime, for the afternoon. And actually, you know, the third part that now I'm working is about how we met. Because later we also start to date each other, and now we are like love partner. And, yeah, and it's not that, and it's not only that. 2 years after, I discovered that Anva is my cousin.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Talk about destiny.
You see, that looks like complete Bollywood, you know.
Bollywood.
It was meant to happen.
Yeah, that should be a movie for sure.
Yeah,
Wow.
so you should watch the third film if we make it one day.
Yes, we will definitely wait for it. Now your life is like a Bollywood story. So I'll just ask a question about, you know, Orphanage has so much influence, Bollywood influence. And how did that come about?
That came from the diary of Anwar because in reality he was selling cinema tickets in front of the cinema for Bollywood film. Yeah, and he was because after he escaped from home, then he ended up in the street, and for 3 years he was kind of a street kid working in front of the cinema, and he watched a lot of Amitabh Bachchan movies because Amitabh Bachchan was the hero on that time. In Kabul he was like a super, like, I mean still he is, but on that time it was like the golden time for him. And any film that came to India, the next day it came to Afghanistan, and the friendship between India and Afghanistan was very strong, and still it is. And Anwar, he watched, like, he sold a lot of tickets in black market, so he made a lot of money, but he also watched like each movie like 40 times or something. That's why he's fluent in Urdu now. only because he watched a lot of movies. So I got this idea from the diary, but I mean, I was completely opposite of Anwar. I was not big fan of Bollywood. I didn't like Bollywood. I mean, the only time that I think I watched Bollywood films, it was when I was in Iran, and I watched some Bollywood films from the national TV in Iran. But of course, they also censor a lot, so they took out all the songs and dance. So I didn't know that in Bollywood films there are dances. So I never, I didn't like the Hindi film on that time. And then Anwar kept talking about, in all the time that we started our relationship, he was non-stop talking about the Indian actress and Indian actor and all the gossip in Indian cinema, and like and he listened to all the like music from Hindi film from 50s, 60s, 70s. Like he likes Raj Kapoor and Amitabh Bachchan, and he knew everyone, and it didn't really interest me until I got a script residency in Germany, in Berlin, and Anwar also joined me. So we lived in Berlin for 3 months, and I was working on a draft of the Orphanage on that time, and I finished a draft that it looked final, but still it had a problem, because it was so, for me it was like because of the way that because of the cinema that I was trying to portray in the Orphanage, everything was so observational, and I didn't have anything from the main character. I didn't have anything that makes us to feel close with him, and I didn't want to describe his character like when everyone doing it in the film, because I thought Afghan people, we are not very expressive people, so if we are happy, or if we are sad, or if we are anything, we keep it here and we never share it. And I think it gets more, maybe because of the last decades of war, that people, they are really do not show emotions or thoughts. They just adapt, because like, even if you look at politics or history, that, you know, the radical change happens one after another, that people that they wanted to survive, the only thing that they could do, they just need to adapt to that society. So I think they kill all the emotions and feelings and all this. And you know, now, if for example now you come to Kabul and you make a conversation with someone, you look at his or her face, you don't know what he or she is thinking. You don't know, because the feeling, you know, it's like a security guard that doesn't let the feeling comes on the face. And then I knew this, so with respect to this, I didn't want to make a character description and where you know everything about the inner side of the character and all this. I didn't want to do that. But on the other hand, I was very amazed of how Afghan people, that they are not very expressive, they are fond of Bollywood, that they are exaggerating expressive. So I just wanted to add that when I was in Berlin in the residency, then I fell in love with Bollywood after watching 400 movies with and mostly from Amitabh Bachchan, as you know.
Well, he finally converted you.
Yes.
That's good.
All right, so Alka has one.
Okay, I have a quick, like, it ties in really with, since it's plays on the Bollywood theme. But when I saw The Orphanage, it reminded me in some way about a film which I saw as a kid, and I just googled it. It was in 1981 that the film was made, and it's a Hindi movie called Chashme Badur. Chashme Badur also kind of uses Hindi movies to kind of depict an alternate reality, you know, sort of like what they'd like it to be, or what they feel inside. And it's very interesting. And also those that alternate reality is has Bollywood influence, has the music from there, has the styling from there. So you know that's a scene from a particular Bollywood movie. So it was very interesting how that translated to The Orphanage. So I was just wondering if you had any influence from any of the cinema you watched, which kind of made you go down that route.
Well, for me it was very different. It was because, I mean, my approach to cinema is it was very different because I didn't watch any movie until I was 20. And the only films that I watched, it was the censored Bollywood film in Iranian TV, or like just some Iranian television series, or some movies, like commercial movies that they show in the governmental TV in Iran. And then when I was 11, because I was born in Iran as a refugee, because my family lived there for more than 40 years or something. And then in 2001, when I was 11 years, we moved back to Afghanistan. But in like a lot of refugees, they came back to Afghanistan, but they went to big cities. But my parents, they decided to go to a very small village in central of Afghanistan. So we ended up in the remote village in the middle of nowhere in Bamiyan. And there was not even electricity, and of course we didn't have TV, and I couldn't go to school, and like for 3-4 years I couldn't do anything. I was just at home and like trying to persuade my father to get out of there. But my parents, because they went back home after 40 years, they were super excited that they completely forgot me and my siblings, you know. And my other siblings, I mean, they were at least graduated from high school, but I was just in the middle of it, and I didn't finish it, and I felt like I'm gonna die in this village all my life. I'm gonna live just there, you know. And when I was 18, I could manage to study in a boy high school some years later. And in 2008, I moved to Kabul. So and then I got my job in the TV. So I think, and then in 2010 actually, I got a residency in Cannes Film Festival. It was a Cine Fondation called Cine Fondation, and I made a short film before I really like a step in a real cinema theater. So I made my short film in 2009, and in 2010 I stepped in a real cinema theater in Paris. And since then I start to watch movies. So I mean, it's like it has a lot of good and a lot of bad. The bad is I don't know a lot of great filmmakers, and I have not watched a lot of great movies or a lot of popular movies. I have not watched them yet. And the good is like because I wanted. I mean, it was, the cinema was never like, oh, I want to be a filmmaker or I want to be a storyteller. You know, cinema was the most irrelevant thing to my life. So I didn't choose that. But later, when I met Anwar and I read his diary, and then I travel around, and then I started my study in university, everything like made sense that I have to choose this path. And also later, when I found out that all the films about Afghanistan, they are not really true, and they are really like they have a big potential of cliche. And also not Afghanistan, but also all the countries that are involved in war, or they're poor, or they're, you know, developing countries. It's always like the internationals, they're always, or even national filmmakers, they're very interested to make films about those countries, but the result is just something like it's not good. It's not good enough, especially if you live there as a citizen, you know. And maybe it's good for the people that they don't know the culture or the country and they just follow this English subtitle, but if you live there, then you are like I don't relate my life to this film at all. So I thought like, okay, it makes sense that I should make film that they are more true to Afghanistan that I live, not as a filmmaker, because theory, I mean, I'm not a filmmaker of theory world, but more as what I experienced and what I lived there, or what I observed, the most important. So now I completely forgot your question.